What's going on, everybody? We're headed up to the land of cheese today, Wisconsin, to visit Lake Country Manufacturing. They produce buffing products and polishing pads. I've been using their products for years. Super excited to go tour their facility. We're gonna take a little tour and you're gonna come with us. Let's go. Prior to 1977, Lake Country Manufacturing was actually called the Milwaukee Tanning Company and made products like sheepskin apparel and leather dice cups. But for the last 40 years, their main focus has been on making polishing pads and products. Lake Country has been the gold standard in polishing pads for a very long time. I've been using Lake Country polishing pads since I've started in this industry 15 years ago.
We'll go into the warehouse and then we'll loop back around, so we'll start at the beginning of the manufacturing and then come back this way.
Okay.
Cool.
Do you buy this foam or you make this foam?
We buy foam. We don't pour here, and then we work with like some key people that we've been working with in years to develop new stuff. So that's been one of the challenges. Is as the foam pad market grows, it becomes more and more competitive.
There's a lot of good napping places around here. If you want it, it's really quiet.
The wools are probably a little bit better.
What is this?
That's going to be like the material that we shape wool pads with. It gets melted. It's a circle sheet form. We sew onto a disc. We get that almost like a molten liquid, and then we shape it and curve it, and then put it on a chiller. So you'll see that. We'll go through the full process.
Oh, like a big pad with him. Yeah.
Yep. And then we'll do a layer stuff for whether it's HDO foams, applicators, stuff like that.
I thought the dual layer stuff we were going to see being made here, where you glue the different.
We don't glue here for that.
In Ohio, that's where your other plant is?
Yeah. It all starts here. So this is probably the smallest laminator that we have too. So like we only house one laminator here. Everything else is in the other facility. Any of the items that are being made into larger pads or that aren't sheet laminated are cut before they get Velcro on them. Otherwise, they're cut after they get Velcro on them. So sheet laminated pads are typically all DA related products. So all the dual action stuff we typically make in a sheet form. On some of our rotary pads or like bigger pads, we'll make individually. So they get cut out discs and then they're formed and made into that. Where these ones are laminated, cut, and then shaped. Stephanie works our water jets, so she'll cut out all the pads. Typically cut full sheets at a time. We don't typically mix and match sizes because all of our pricing and yields and the way we build items are based off of that yield and that quantity.
So everything cut with water?
Most of it is. You can cut with water, you can cut with laser, you can cut with die cut presses, which I'll show you too, but there's advantages and disadvantages to all those. Yeah. So water jet is not as fast as a die cut, but it can offer a lot of advantages. So
Probably get a cleaner cut.
Cleaner cut in a center hole. So a pad that's not, you might be able to get away with using a die cut if it doesn't have a center hole.
Is this a secret new pad? I've never seen this.
Secret old pad. That's a micro waffle. It never really went anywhere. It was probably, at this point, it launched maybe 10 years ago. It was called a cool wave, where they CCS'd it. But it was a micro waffle that just never.
You still make these or no?
We still have some in house, but we don't really make too much of them though. These are our CCS machines.
What does this process do to the pad? What's the benefit of a pad with this?
So it's a partially collapsed cell. So when this originally when this was developed, it was the first quantifiable pad to compete with a waffle. So that was really where it had its place at that time. But the whole process itself offered a number of benefits. It doesn't actually modify the feel of the foam, whereas like on the corners
Yeah, I was worried it would scratch if you burned it or if it got too hot.
Exactly. So it's not actually fully melting it; it's partially collapsing it.
Okay.
So on top of breaking surface friction and offering something like a waffle pad, now it also offers the ability to not absorb polish as fast because those cells are collapsing closed. So that was the other added benefit to it. And not long after, or around those times, like M100, or I'm sorry, 105 and 205 came out, and they had really short working times. So this was a recommended pad, or a widely, what I remember as a widely recommended pad during that time, because it would kind of extend your working time to 105. It wasn't so short and dry and dusty. You could work it a little bit more. It was more like working a different compound.
Yeah, I remember using baby oil with 105. Spraying baby oil to make it work longer. It's sick, man. Like I love it. Yeah. I can't stop smiling. It's awesome.
It's one of those places, like I said, you wouldn't think it's that great, but my first 2 weeks were pretty awesome.
It's also the kind of thing you're like, I never really thought about where this thing came from. You just tear open the bag and...
Right.
It's a circle of foam. There's nothing to it, right?
There's lots of bright, shiny bulbs everywhere. Very tough.
This is a cool homemade machine. So this is what we clean wool pads with. You know, the operator will sit here. That's a little off center. Sit here. Turn the vacuum.
That's just like a pet hairbrush.
Essentially, yeah. And what's cool is like when you see newer pieces of engineered equipment, they all started like this, you know? So this is the area that we can't do video in, just because all of these sewing machines are completely custom. So what's cool about these though is these sewing machines are different than the ones that we have in Ohio, and they're different than any of the ones that any of our competitors have. So like if you go into Ohio, it's gonna be similar to what our competitors have in terms of sewing machines and things like that. These are all fully custom built, and they run like twice the speed, which is why our pads are a little bit different. And we make them here and in Ohio. So we make unsteamed pads here, and we make steamed pads in Ohio. And the sewing process is different just because of how it was as it changed, but all of our pads in here get sewn really, really fast. So we use some stronger materials because the sewing machines run so fast that we don't want them to rip. So it'll rip the machine. So we can go in and check it out, we just can't do video of it. So most of them are timing controlled, like manual, like a sewing machine.
Yeah.
These are all electronic. So each one has, they still have to thread the needle originally when they start it. And then she'll put in the initial disc of the one material, and it starts off slow, and then it kicks up. So most machines don't have variable speed like that. They don't ramp up. And part of that is if you just went straight at it, it would just destroy the whole thing.
If there's anything that I can do, I want to try it out.
Yeah. You do it.
Oh, Dave!
Yeah, so we call it the accordion because everybody thinks you're going to be somebody special and carry as much as you can until it just goes boom, and you're like, okay, I'm going to pick up 30 pads or whatever it is.
So this gotta look around and make sure no inside.
So this is where it starts as it comes off of our sewing machine. This is where it needs to end up in order to be laminated because this is the extra. And the reason that it's extra is because the foot on the sewing machine needs to pull. You know, so it has to have something to work on.
Yeah.
So I'll let you do this, but essentially it goes down like this. The fingers here come in here. It's all triggered on like a switch. And this is an extremely sharp razor blade.
Don't touch it.
I'll show you the first time you do the other one.
Okay. That's easy. Gotta center it.
Yeah, if it's got a center post, Don't cut your finger in there. Oh, you get it?
I think so. How'd I do?
There's no way that's passing quality control.
That one's not so good. You might
fail.
want to do it again.
Put that on my tab. That's easy.
So you can see here, Katie's doing this. This is the material we were looking at before.
Yeah, right.
Velcro, that material, then the disc. She spins them to center them so that they don't get pushed off to one side because the heat will allow them to start melting and moving off center. So you got to make sure they're centered. What it's doing is essentially it's making that material molten to a liquefied state. She's gonna pull it off, put it over there, which are liquid chiller plates.
Okay.
And then it's gonna compress those and shape them and cool them and keep their form. This is our first piece of automated robotics. And part of that is our old owner worked on the floor. But when he retired, part of it was making sure that he had a piece of equipment that would replace him because he made pads every single day, which is kind of rare for an owner of a company the size that we are.
Yeah.
But he really loved being out in the factory, on the floor, and interacting with the majority of the employees here. So his job, he was the first person here, last person to leave every day, and he would make wool pads, and that's what he did for the most part. He did a lot more than that, but his job was to make wool pads. We developed this in order to get him to retire, or Jay did, so that he could retire. And it does that same process that we saw, or a similar type of a wool pad manufacturing process on a large scale. So anything that we do really high volume of will run through our robotics.
This is what I want for detailing, for fluffing a car.
It's coming. I really think it's coming. This is where we do all our printing. It's really cool. We do a UV style, so it gears it underneath, kind of like we were talking about. So we can print off rolls and make sheeted product, or we can make individual pads. We can heat it before or after. It's not going to affect the Velcro. This is where we do a recessing. So like for your big style recessed back pads. So it's got a spinning knife blade. It's got a bandsaw. Essentially it.
Here it goes. I didn't even see it do anything. Okay. Oh wow. There you go.
So so essentially what it's using is using compression to cut it. And then a number of things to extract that piece out.
Cheers to you. Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.